Quantum theory tells us no object really exists except in relationship to other things that it affects. There really is no four. You know what I'm saying? Like, we each have a four.
Okay.
And my four would actually be like your -1 because,
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Are we doing a podcast today or?
Yeah, here we go. Oh, hello and hi. Hi, hello. Welcome to Basic Folk, where we have honest conversations with folk musicians on the Bluegrass Situation Podcast Network. I am Cindy House.
I'm Lizzie No, amateur mathematician.
Wow. If you'd like to stay in touch with us, you can sign up for the Basic Folk newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter where we write down our most sacred, emotional thoughts and also let you know what's going on with the podcast. So it's like a 2-for-1.
I actually really enjoy reading the newsletter because Cindy does such a great job of talking about what's going on in our worlds musically and personally.
If you don't shed a tear or blood or another type of bodily fluid while reading the newsletter, then we're doing it wrong. But I feel like we're doing it right.
Hell yeah.
So you can sign up for our newsletter at the link in the show notes, or you can check out our website, basicfolk.com. There is like a red sign up for the newsletter button. You can also follow us on social media. We are not on, what is it called? Whatever.
It's called Twitter.
All right.
Cindy.
We're not on that. We're on Instagram, mostly, and also Facebook at Basic Folk Pod. We're also a listener-supported podcast. You can make a contribution at our website, basicfolk.com. We are getting into beanie season. We do have Basic Folk beanies. They are handmade by Basic Folk's #1 mother. You can get yours at the shop, basicfolk.com, and you can get it for a monthly gift of $5, and it really helps us out. It makes everything we do possible, keeps this train on the tracks.
And basically, if you become a monthly subscriber, you're like on the inner circle of the pod, and you can feel that sense of like, I am part of this.
We have a monthly seance in our minds that we don't tell anyone else about, and you will be part of it.
I just shared some really cool information about that monthly seance, but only our monthly subscribers actually were able to hear it. So
it's like a dog whistle.
That.
Yeah. Our guest today, we are beside ourselves with J-O-Y. That's right. Jenny Owen Youngs is on Basic Folk today. Lizzie, can you share your joy origin story, please?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this one goes out to all of the emo kids who never stop being emo kids. I'm talking early to mid-aughts. I'm talking MySpace. I'm talking looking out your window at the rain, listening to Bon Iver's For Emma Forever Ago when it first came out. I'm talking about red and black as a design aesthetic. I am talking about getting your friend's dad to take you to a concert at a casino in Atlantic City because you really needed to see Say Anything, but you were only 14. That is the scene, y'all. Emo, screamo, passion. Imagine you're that person and then you hear the unbelievable emotional depth and lyrical complexity and yet like accessibility of Jenny Owen Youngs' Fuck Was I? Like the chorus is just, what the fuck was I thinking? And when she says, God, it's so embarrassing, high school me thought, for the first time I am hearing an artist say my thoughts and feelings out loud. This is how important this artist is to me personally, and I'm guessing some of you out there because she has like a cult following. People love Jenny Owen Youngs. People adore her. People adore her podcast. People memorize her lyrics. And we have been waiting, the Joy Heads have been waiting over 10 years for the record that we're about to talk about. It's so exciting.
She has been going through tons of changes over the past decade, lots of life changes. She started this very successful podcast about Buffy the Vampire Slayer with her then wife, Kristin Russo. It was halfway through the podcast, the two got divorced. They kept doing the podcast. She moved from Los Angeles to Maine. She remarried. She has since had a beautiful little baby.
A child.
She and Kristin have finished up Buffering the Vampire Slayer, and they have moved on to a new podcast called The X-Files, like ex-wives doing a podcast about the television show X-Files. And just a side note, she also has a podcast about Veronica Mars.
I would describe Jenny Owen Youngs as the patron saint of spooky little gay girls who have something to say.
Jenny has a new album, Avalanche. If you're listening in real time, it comes out tomorrow, September 22nd. If you're listening after that, the record's out. It was produced by angel person Josh Kaufman, who is best known for his work with Josh Ritter, The National, Hold Steady, and just being like a general cherub of a human being. Lots of hard stuff is covered on this album. We refer back to divorce, moving, remarrying. She had the baby after the record was done, but hopefully that'll be the next record.
I feel like my favorite track on this album is the one that deals with the loss of a friend. I think like we need more songs that deal with the real depth and romance and huge feelings that go with friendships. It's not just about romantic relationships. It's about like that depth of feeling. So, what an album. It's so gorgeous.
It's like a internationally known cliche to say that Jenny is a joy to talk to, but it's cliche for a reason. We're going to listen to clips from Avalanche throughout our interview. Stick around to listen to clips from the record, and don't sleep on the prom-themed lightning round. It's Jenny Owen Youngs on Basic Folk. All right, Jenny Owen Youngs, thank you so much for coming back to Basic Folk. We're going to have a real good time here.
Thank you so much for having me. When I found out I got to come back, I was like, that's allowed? I'm so excited.
Oh, yeah.
For some.
I passed my first test.
We are going to get into your new record, which we love, just a moment. But I have a couple of questions ahead of that. So let's get into it. After your last record, which was your third release from 2012, An Unwavering Band of Light, you started co-writing with many, many people. You got signed to a writing deal for Dan Wilson's publishing company, and you figured out the kind of work you love to do and the kind of artists and producers you love to do it with. So how did those experiences of co-writing at that level impact your musicality and your writing?
Well, I think that when I started to like dip my toe into the co-writing pool in 2014, 2015, and then I moved to Los Angeles to try to do it as much as possible in 2016, I really was kind of like diving into the deep end of the boot camp pool, if I can just mix my little metaphors. Writing 3, 4, 5 times a week, often meeting somebody for the first time, being like, hello, where are you from? What are your deepest and most pressing emotional wounds? Let's make a song. Day after day after day. And then also kind of like drilling into the aspects of what makes a song, the melody, the lyric, the sort of pacing, the storytelling, the feel of the track, the arrangement, all of that stuff. Just doing it so much and with so many different kinds of people and picking up production tricks and melodic tendencies and just sort of like philosophical approaches to music from so many different collaborators, I feel like was just such an incredible, enriching educational experience, and, continues to be. And, that definitely fed so much into all of the music on this record, and the other like sort of more intuitive or like I can point directly to it and say that I wrote a lot of these songs with people that I met because of writing sessions, So like all of that stuff like really fed into this record and, you know, makes it feel to me very different from the records that I made before it.
All right. So question about the podcast, Buffering the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really about the podcast, but it's about the stuff around the podcast. It was created with your then wife, Kristin Russo, and you were halfway through the series. You and Kristin split up, but amazingly, you saw it through and you host a new podcast together called The X-Files.
Oh, yeah.
And through it, you said it was an excruciating process figuring out how to disentangle ourselves from our personal relationship while maintaining our professional one. I am just like completely floored that you both were able to do that. So how did that disentangling help solidify your new relationship with Kristin? And like now that you're through it, what advice or what wisdom can you share?
Well, I think like something that really was the guiding light through our process of separation and divorce that like kept us striving to be as good as we could be to each other through that like painful disentanglement was that we had made something together that we loved so much and neither one of us was willing to give that up, right? So I have a child now and I understand more now than ever that a child and a podcast are two very different things. But it felt to me like we had given birth to this thing and like there were so many people, so many listeners that we had met that had come together around the podcast who, you know, people who like met and got married, people who created these sort of like little supportive subgroups where like if somebody in the Facebook group was having a bad day, whoever was geographically closest to them would like crowdsource $5 from anybody who could donate, put together a care package, drop it on their door and like send them a message and let them know it was there. Like that's the kind of stuff that was going on around this podcast, aside from just us talking about like a show that we love so much that's like so fun. And neither one of us could conceive of a world in which we would have to lose that. So I don't want to say make sure you have a kid before you get divorced so you can keep it civil, but I think it really was a great benefit to us and like being able to maintain, you know, respect and care for one another to the greatest possible degree, that we had something that we shared and that like we both wanted to keep beyond our marriage, you know?
That is really good advice. Always have a child.
Always have a child before you get divorced.
As a step parent, I couldn't agree more.
Let's get into this record, Avalanche. And the first song is the title track. Jenny, you're an artist who's like not afraid to show your whole self, like the good and the bad, like you always have been. This song takes place towards the end of the metaphorical avalanche. And you said, at the time I was standing in the light at the end of a very long tunnel, having undergone some massive life changes, and that the song is a prayer of thanks for my wife and the ability to start over, thanks to your amazing track by track that you wrote up that I stole quotes from. So how does this song see you honestly reflecting on all parts of yourself at that very tender time?
The first thing that comes to mind is the opening lyric, if it's not too yucky for me to quote myself. But, you know, you asked about the song, so... The opening line is, what I know is that I'm good at getting on, then getting right back off the hook. And I feel like that's something, that idea to me has to do with sort of like in earlier parts of my life, before my marriage, I always felt like there was like a certain time limit, a shelf life to something. I would, if I was in a relationship that was getting around the year and a half mark, I would start to get like very nervous that like something was going to happen. And possibly because I would get nervous that something was going to happen, it usually did, you know? And I think like thinking about sort of like the ways that we can allow ourselves to justify things, behaviors, patterns. We've all got like very cool computers inside of our skulls that really can help us believe anything if we really, really want to. And I think when I was writing this song, I was really thinking about accountability and how to be a better Jenny, you know? At that point, I had been in therapy like for a number of years, but there's always room for improvement. And I think I'm slow at therapy. If I had to gauge myself, I would say I'm thorough and committed, but really taking my time around the bend, you know? Now here we are in the middle of my answer, or perhaps at the end of it. And I'm wondering, did we get there?
Yes, I have a question, actually a follow-up question related to what you've just said, which is what is your astrological sign, if you're willing to share it?
Oh, well, do you want to take a guess?
I have a hunch, but I want you to say. Were you born in the second, or towards the, like in the fall?
Would it technically, I guess it technically, yes, does fall within autumn.
You're a Scorpio?
I am the very first day of Sagittarius.
Wow, the cusp. Wow. Okay.
I feel like
Squeaked right in there.
you squeaked right in.
there's definitely some Scorpio in my chart. Thanks for noticing. But my sun is in Sag.
Aw, great. Here we go. Track number 2. Knife went in. So in the past, when you were creating albums, you would spend a lot of time layering and multi-tracking. And we can get a little bit more into that in a bit. But on this new record, Josh Kaufman produced, and you changed up your process a little bit. Like you recorded vocals and guitars simultaneously without overdubbing. You've said that you worked quickly with minimal takes. So what was the most challenging part of that particular shift for you as like a recording artist? And how do you think this creative risk influenced the character of this album?
Well, I think that if I had known going into the recording sessions that Josh's preferred method was to work with, you know, like tracking multiple things at once, doing guitar and vocal at the same time, also while like Josh was tracking something as well, an electric guitar, an acoustic guitar, drums, piano, that there was this level of sort of like commitment. I probably would have been a lot more nervous leading up to it. So I'm glad that I did not know until we were sitting in front of microphones and I was like, this is how the song goes. Let's play it through a couple times together. And then he was like, cool, I'm going to
Hit record.
have Dan hit record. And I was like, what do you mean? I definitely was afraid to a certain degree, you know, like there definitely was a certain level of anxiety where I was like, oh no, if I need to redo something, we have to like redo everything. And like, I don't have a problem with redoing everything, but I do have a problem with like dragging everyone else through redoing everything, you know what I mean? But Josh and D. James Goodwin, who engineered and mixed and mastered the record, and Jillian Falconen, who was the production assistant, they're just like such wonderful, warm people. And like, especially Josh, who I like was spending, you know, the most time 5 or 6 feet away from, just like really cultivating a warm, safe feeling space. I can't imagine like a better environment to have that realization right before we started recording the very first song of the album. And what's really tremendous is that it worked, and it's okay. I think the record is all right. And I think it had actually a really dramatic impact on how the album as a whole feels. I feel like it breathes. Even the songs that we started by like, you know, recording a couple of guitars and a vocal along to an analog drum machine, which essentially is kind of functioning as a click track, have a sort of life to them that can get lost, I think, in the layering, the bottomless pit of Pro Tools, overdub yourself to death if you desire vibe. At the place on your body where the knife went in. Remember we got so lost up at your parents' place, out in the golden ride, with the sign on your face. We wandered around all day. All right, the next song, Goldenrod, it's about a formative friend that unexpectedly died, and this was your way of saying goodbye to him. And it's such a lovely, beautiful arrangement. It's very gentle. So why did this simple arrangement seem right for this particular expression of grief? I think of all the things that we can do as people, grieving has got to be like in, I don't know, the top 3 in terms of like simplest, most kind of like base, core of humanity kind of things. I think that death in many ways can be very complicated, but really at the end of the day, death is pretty simple. And I wanted this song to feel as intimate on the record as it felt to write, and as raw as it felt to live. And I think Josh did some really beautiful, very spare piano, and I think there's a rubber bridge guitar that he's plucking away on. And that sort of, I don't know, it's almost like lace or something, sonic lace that felt and feels to me like kind of the right housing for this, for the idea, I guess, of the song, for the love in the song. How did I do? My impulse is to ask how I did after I answer a question.
No, I wanted to say thank you for sharing that with us. We'll come back to that. I think grief is it is one of those top 3 human experiences, which makes it really, really hard to talk about, because I think most of us experience it and very few of us know how to explain it It's a great song, and I really appreciated your answer.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is making me think, I don't know if this is interesting or not, but it's making me think of a conversation that we had for the podcast when we covered an episode that was like centered around a very large character death. We talked to a professor from Smith who specifically their focus is on death in film and television, and their name's Jen. Jen talked to us about how there's like very little natural death, like natural causes death in film and television. Usually people are getting shot or having like, you know, some kind of like traumatic event or a car accident or whatever. So we like very rarely see those sort of like quieter losses. And the thing that they talked to us about that like really rings in my head all the time is that what's really important about seeing loss and grief in film and television is that it like allows us to rehearse those losses before we like in preparation kind of for experiencing them in real life.
was wrong. You left when I said that. Now you're gone. I was wrong.
Should we talk about Everglades?
I'm here for it.
I love this track. It has what I would describe as get up and go, which is when a song that's like, it's not like exactly a rock song, but it has like this forward momentum that makes it extremely catchy. I want to talk about aux percussion, which for those of us who are not musicians, aux percussion is, I think, what a lot of people describe as like any percussive element that's like not the standard drum kit. So shakers and hand claps and all kinds of other stuff, you know, like if you're going to use your triangle, that's aux percussion. So like, do you have rules of thumb about what works well in your songs when it comes to aux percussion? How did the arrangement of this track come together? And or like, how did you know when it was finished? Any of that?
I'm a big fan of shakers, maracas, and tambourines. I especially like shakers that sound kind of like, ugh, somebody's got to like scrub that thing. It sounds filthy, you know, just like the like nastier and grubbier it sounds, like the more preferably a gourd that's been dried out in the sun and it has really big seeds inside, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes.
I'm not the world's greatest aux percussionist, though I do record a fair amount of it when I'm self-recording in the privacy of my own home where no one is looking at me. This track is, it features actually all the majority of the drums on the record, like the kit drums, and some of the percussion as well were played by Matt Barrick of the Walkmen. And he rocks. When Josh was pitching, he was like, I've got this guy in mind. I was like, cool. He's like, yeah, he's like the saddest drummer I've ever heard. And I was like, yes, precise, please bring him to me. And even though this song, you know, has get up and go, or bumps, as I would say, he still found a way to just like make it feel also like, you know, there's like a low level somberness. There's like some kind of dread running through the whole piece. I think, like, if I'm remembering right, we had Josh and I had done most of the instrumental tracking, but Matt came in on the Friday. We started on Monday. Matt came in on the Friday and recorded drums for everything we had done in one day, basically. And he just like was so amazing, so like intuitive, and just did, you know, some takes of the kit, some takes of the percussion, and you know, with very minimal kind of like nudges from Josh, like a little bit more here, a fill there, but like make it sound wrong, you know, that kind of thing. And we just kind of like
Wait, hold on, time out. What do you mean make it sound wrong?
Well,
I was like, yeah, agreed.
You know, fill over the bar line, start filling before you think you should, you know, that kind of thing. There are these like things where you know, that can be deployed to sort of make things feel like slightly off kilter or unexpected, or just like catch the listener and give them like a good like boo, you know.
A jump scare. Lizzie taught me what those are.
Yes. Just trying to terrify anyone who dares listen. And I think how do you know when you're done thing, I think a lot about, I think Coco Chanel is the person who said, get dressed and then take off the last accessory that you put on. I try to have that just in my mind so that we never get to one too many accessories, you know? But just, striving for coming in under without going over. It's like blackjack. I don't know.
I thought that was Ugly Betty's little brother that said, take off the last accessory you put on.
Let's reattribute.
It's definitely one of the two.
I also, when you're talking about aux percussion, I didn't hear either of you talk about this, but I do want to give a shout out to finger cymbals.
Yes.
Just quick story. At my wedding, when we were recessing, I had all my Pittsburgh friends up playing aux percussion, shakers, maracas, tambourines. And there was a mishap that morning where we discovered that all of the pieces of percussion that I have bought for this moment in the ceremony were not at the venue. They were forgotten. So somebody had to go out and get a whole bunch of new pieces of percussion. And they were like asking me, like, should we get this? And then one of the things that they were asking me about was finger cymbals. And I was like, everything but the finger cymbals, please, no thank you. But I gotta say, coming down the aisle with my new wife while my best Pittsburgh pals were like jamming along with their little instruments and seeing my friend Scott with the little finger cymbal, he dinged it. And he was very dapper in his outfit, but I'll never forget it. And it truly made me a believer in the finger cymbal.
Wait.
Cindy, I think Lizzie and I might have the same question.
Yes.
Did Scott have one cymbal on the finger of one hand and one cymbal on the finger of a whole other hand?
Yes.
That is poetry in motion.
Incredible. Yeah, I no notes.
Wow.
Very good.
All hail Scott.
All hail Scott.
Yeah.
Also, all hail whoever was like, let me check in with the bride moment by moment on her wedding day as I'm purchasing the auxiliary percussion items, and then let me furthermore just go against her wishes.
Yeah, disregard.
I'm going to check in with each instrument that she wants or doesn't want, and then I'm not going to listen to.
Oh, God.
And I was in the Everglades. Got a retainer, it doesn't fit now, but I had teeth once, different from these ones. I got a loner out in the driveway. I lost my own car, she's strewn across the highway. Give me a reason, give me a footnote. Tell me I'm yours or tell me that I won't.
The next song, Bury Me Slow, it deals with some pretty severe childhood trauma caused by your stepdad. And I had a couple questions about this song. So like listening to this song, it feels like your voice, like the range of your voice it just kind of like stays in the higher range. And this could be me like reading into this, but like how is that higher range of your voice maybe connected with your childhood self?
This is not a thing I've considered before.
And it sounds like I just kind of like came up with it, but it did feel like your vocal delivery, there was like an innocence or like a protectiveness of the way that you're singing this particular song that doesn't appear in other Jenny songs.
For all of the things that I have studied and practiced and learned and used intentionally, I have to imagine that there's like at least that much going on subconsciously, right? When I write a song or make a recording. And, you know, I could definitely, it feels very possible to me that like when I am, you know, living inside of this song in particular, that it like takes me to a place and I just kind of drop into tendencies that might be like specifically attached without my conscious awareness to those experiences. Now Cindy can invoice me.
I think it's entirely possible, especially reading about the fact that like this was a topic that has been in your consciousness for a very long time. You haven't written it. You didn't write about it until you were an adult. So it sounds like it could be a subconscious thing, or it sounds like a thing that I just made up. but I feel like we've workshopped this and have come to the conclusion that I am correct.
Yeah, Cindy is right. All hail Cindy. The torch has passed. Scott is in the rear view.
Goodbye.
Cindy is in the throne.
All right. I got one more question about this song, Bury Me Slowly. Now that you are a parent, how do you hear this song differently?
I think that my sort of default setting is to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, except for myself, right? And, you know, I think in therapy, right, like sometimes if you're working on something that's old, you have to think about yourself as a child, right? And my go-to setting is like, oh, what a idiot. That kid didn't know anything, you know? I'm not like, oh, a child. A child with a child's like abilities and experience. I'm like, Jenny, And I think that like that is like one of the more challenging things that I've you know attempted to do in my adult times, trying to sort of like reconcile things from my childhood, is like to be able to look at, you know, my past self with compassion. And what is really cool about having a cool little baby who rocks is that he has just changed the way that I see, I don't know, everything. And I feel like he has made me think that even maybe I, in my child form, was like, okay, you know? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that for all of the love and care that I am trying to have for myself in this song, looking backwards, it is like exponentially magnified through the lens of my love for my child, if that's not too sweeping of a thing to say.
And I wish you could pick me up right here, speed through the stoplights, and don't stop driving till we get all right. City living's mighty close. I wanna know what I can't know. I've seen you from across the street. Chances are we'll never meet, but oh, when I fall good and I fall hard. Can't tell between what I need and what I want.
I want to talk about Next Time Around, and I want to get a little bit woo-woo. First things first, I would like to read a little part of your artist statement on this song.
Sure.
When I started writing this song, I was partially inspired by an episode of The X-Files in which special agents Fox Mulder and Dana Scully discover through hypnotic regression therapy that they've known each other and been important to each other across many different lifetimes. It made me think about the people in my life and what it could mean to know them later or to have known them before. It feels like the tree falling in the forest. If you knew someone in a previous life but you didn't know that you did, does it have an impact? So, do you, Jenny, believe in destiny? Do you believe that there are people you are meant to connect with? And how does the answer to that first question impact the way that you show up in relationships?
I would say that I believe in the possibility of destiny. And really, I think what this song is about, like, this song is a love song to infinite possibility, which is my fave. You know? Aliens? Maybe. Past lives? Maybe. Alternate universes? Maybe. Stuff? Maybe. I love living in a world where maybe, you know? That's like the most exciting thing, is that like maybe.
Hell yeah, maybe.
So what you're saying is you want to believe.
I want to believe. I feel like the
Would
truth
you say
is
the
out
truth
there.
is out there?
Yeah.
I'd say that. I would also say that.
Back to the start of it. Maybe we'll get even closer the next time around. Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll get even closer the next time around. Yeah. Got a memory to amputate, digging for the Novocaine, looking for some relief. Doctor of ontology took some warning out of me, like he was pulling teeth.
The next song, It's Later Than You Think. It addresses your relationship to your phone, social media, and the internet in general, and that time is infinite. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about making friends. You are living in a new town, and moving to your new town in Maine felt like your phone was a tether to life itself. So I want to know, are you good at making friends? How did you make new friends? Tell us, Jenny.
Let's see.
How do you make new friends?
Am I good at making friends? I feel like because the work that I do is so inherently social in a way, co-writing sessions, extremely social, going on tour with other bands, hyper social. Historically, I think had a pretty easy time like getting to know people and finding common ground and like enjoying other people and hopefully being enjoyed by them, fingers crossed. I feel like I've accumulated so many people in my life that by the time we got here, I was like, whew, I'm glad that this state is so thinly populated because I don't know how much more room in my Rolodex I have.
Full up.
I think like one really nice thing about moving here specifically to this town in coastal southern Maine is that my wife Jess went to like junior high and high school here, so she has like a couple of like friends that she's known since she was like 10, you know, and by some very weird coincidences, friends of mine who lived in like Chicago but who are from here just happened to move back during the pandemic. So like I had a little bit, you know, of a existing kind of comfort zone. I do meet people, but I also feel like, you know, so much of my life since I've been here has been about building my nuclear family, you know, and sometimes traveling for work. So like, I feel like my biggest social experiences are like when I have to go to LA for work and I see like 90% of my friends live in Los Angeles at this point. So like I kind of like recharge at home, go to LA, social out, write songs, play a show, whatever, and then come home and I'm like, the ocean, my child, my dog, my wife, trees, you know, and work.
Rad.
This room that you're looking at right now.
Look up, it's later than you think. I gotta be honest, we have a problem. Got a call from the bar in Clarion. You left your wallet, career alcoholic. Say every day is your last day on the job.
Track 8 on your new album is called Salt, and you co-wrote it with Christian Lee Hudson, and you said, it's always an adventure with Christian. There's a certain geographical or locational element that seems to work its way into songs that we write together. And this song is about the East Coast. So what's the most East Coast part of this song?
Wow. What a great question. You ever have that feeling where you're like, what is the most East Coast part of this song?
I think about it a lot.
I'm going to... Seems like the kind of thing I should already know the answer to.
I mean,
but why would I?
You don't like write up your interview answers before.
Well, no, and how could I? I don't even know what the questions are going to be.
It's the hardest part.
This is gotcha journalism.
Ha ha!
Okay. Maybe the most East Coast part of the song is the phrase, "Get me out of the Midwest."
Yes.
i.e. back to the East Coast.
Yes.
That might be it. Also, there's something about like the idea of pulling an arrow out of yourself that like feels very New York.
Yes.
You know what I mean? As I lived in New York City for like 10 years before I moved to LA for 5, and then I was like forced to confront the pros and cons of both cities, you know, back and forth in my head forever. And one thing that I really appreciate about New York mentality is that you would just pull it out yourself. Whereas in LA, you would like maybe
Like seek a healer.
That's what I was like, which kind of healer? Or is healer just general enough?
That resonates. I live in New York, and one time I got hit by a car, and I yelled some of the most unspeakable profanities at that person that have ever been heard. And then I just kept going to work because I was already running late.
This is what I'm talking about.
And I texted my boss, sorry, I'm going to be late. I've been hit by a car.
Were you okay?
Definitely not. I mean, physically fine, but you don't want to be on an all-day dog walking shift having just been hit by a car. Also, it's not that serious.
No.
I could have just called in, but that's New York, baby.
Yeah.
Pull out
Nothing's
the
going to
arrow.
slow you down.
Okay, I have another question that could open up a rabbit hole, but I really do want to know. When you sing your songs, do you go back to the emotional scene of the crime? Like, do you feel in like a method acting way that you are back at that place? Or do you try to kind of like give it a new life on the road so you don't have to go back to that same emotional space where you were when you wrote it?
I think that when I'm recording, I'm often creating a new emotional scene of the crime, you know, because like recording is something I've done a lot of and something that I think know how to do more or less, in, you know, at least in, you know, some ways, whatever.
You do.
Oh, thank you. But also there is a fear that never goes away. So like, I think there is like a little bit of terror that that works itself into every take. Well, you know, and then maybe as the takes progress, the terror is overtaken and just kind of becomes a part of the fabric of the life of the song, and then like the actual performance maybe comes through. And then live wise, I feel like when I'm on stage, so much of what's happening is like this sort of energetic exchange between me and the other people in the room, other people on stage, but also definitely the people in the audience. And I think that kind of like makes the song something like a little bit different every time.
From the first bite, on the first night, I could tell I would never be done. Couldn't get right in a past life, trying to hold what was already gone.
All right, so we're at track 9. The song Set It On Fire. I'm like very confused about this, and it's weird that to me it's weird that this song is like towards the end of the album when thematically it's about the very beginning of going through all these painful changes that we've been talking about throughout our conversation and that have happened to you in the last 10 years. So my question is there a tension between subject matter and album sequencing?
Not to me.
Whoa, freedom!
I think that, well, if you're blessed enough for people to listen to your whole album in the order that you made it, you know, that you like ordered the tracks, then what a life in this modern era.
Yeah, good point.
But
I'll see myself out.
In ordering the album, this album in particular, you know, I but also just generally, like, I like to think about flow. I like to think about making sure that, like, there's not like a pile up of like 4 songs in the same key all in a row, you know, and I want to make sure that it's not like all downers and then all uppers or the other way around. Not that I'm, you know, burdened with an excess of uppers, but like to just try to keep things feeling, you know, curated sonically, feel wise, and oddly, you know, the song is looking back to, you know, a point in the rear view, but it's also like one of the last songs on the record that I wrote. I wrote that song with Mickey Echo. I feel like I have been doing a bad job of shouting out my collaborators who are, you know, plentiful and amazing. But Mickey is a guy that I, like, of course, was aware of. Yeah. Because, you know, he just had a sultry duet with Rihanna that was like the biggest song in the world. We got together to write, and he was so, like, he was just like really lovely. In Nashville, he's out of Nashville, and in Nashville, it's very different from LA writing wise. In LA, you're like, cool, we'll get there. We'll start at like 1 or 2, you know, and like it's like 8 o'clock, and you're like, well, we've got a chorus, and it's just like very laid back, you know, and very West Coast or whatever. And in Nashville, it's like, cool, sessions at 11, we'll be done by 2, got to get home, pick up the kids, you know, and then make dinner. And so I was expecting when I went to Mickey's for it to be like a short day, but we were vibing so hard, and just like really, it was very, I'm not usually closed off. I don't usually, after doing so many writing sessions, my sort of like, I've got vulnerability on tap, I'm like ready to go. But for some reason, maybe because I just like was familiar with his work and I thought he was like such a great artist, maybe I was a little nervous, I don't know, but it took me a while to kind of like open up that day. But Mickey was like very patient and like kind of lured, and he was just like, here's a treat, here's a treat, here's a treat, come out of your cave. And before I knew it, it was like 8 p.m. and I was like, where am I? Los Angeles? This is absolutely unheard of in Nashville. I can't believe we're still here having a blast making this song.
I'm ready to set it on fire. Now comes the mystery, not like I thought it'd be. Feeling my pockets now for missing keys.
Okay, now comes the mystery, the final track. You co-wrote it with S. Carey over Zoom, which strikes me as incredibly brave. Just for song, like co-writes can be vulnerable, and this song, like the subject matter, it's about a death that you experienced. So does the subject matter affect how you approach the act of collaboration? Like when you know you're about to write a song that like deals with really heavy personal stuff, and were there emotions or memories that were a part of your lived experience that you chose not to share in the song and like to keep for yourself?
Well, goodness, yes. I hope I'm holding something back all the time. I think when I know something's going to be very sensitive, I'm particular about who I'll even try to write that song with. And I did just meet Sean. I think maybe we chatted on Zoom once before we actually got together on Zoom to write, if I'm remembering that correctly. So we had like a how do you do, I think. But he had remixed a song for me previously, and had done such a like beautiful, sensitive job that I was like, I feel like maybe this is somebody that I could try to write this song with. And
you know, somebody you can cry with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Talk about lotions and get your nails done.
For sure.
It's so shocking that you could have that. I feel like there's a small list of men that I'm able to have that type of relationship with. Like average woman, I can do that. 90% of men.
I mean, I'm just blessed with an overabundance of like very sensitive men. I've accumulated them. They've come out of the woodwork, and I lure them into my den of iniquity and song and make them listen to my feelings and help me make my feelings pretty.
S. Carey seems like a good partner for that type of a project.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's like really just lovely and you know, such an amazing artist and does so many amazing things. And made a song that I knew I wanted to write, but was kind of, you know, really nervous to try to write, made that process feel, I think, probably as good as it could have felt.
Maybe another day, I'll know why.
We're going to do the lightning round.
I'm scared.
It's a very special lightning round.
Yes.
But before we do that, Lizzie, is there anything you want to share with Jenny about the first time you performed a song that she wrote live?
Yes.
What is happening?
The year was 2009.
A very good year.
I was graduating from high school. My band, shout out to Caroline Reese and Bridget Ruff, we were a girl band. We were asked to perform a song on the football field at graduation. Incredible gig. Guess what we chose to perform? And mind you, the band was viola, acoustic guitar, 2 vocalists, and concert harp. Okay?
Wow.
We performed Fuck Was I at our high school graduation. What were we thinking?
You were allowed?
I just feel that every adult let us down in that situation, but it's also incredibly rock and roll, and I'm very proud of it. And thank you for inviting me to share that tale, Cindy.
Has this been captured for posterity in any way?
Well, there's a photo of us, actually. I'll put it in the email thread.
I would love to see that.
We're all in like early aughts, sort of formal wear on a football field, playing like a classical arrangement of Fuck Was I by Jenny Owen Youngs.
That makes me so happy. The way it was intended to be performed and heard.
And also like the idea at the end, we really took the liberty to like really belt those like, you know that I got what you want.
Yes.
We made it a real emo banger.
I am so thrilled. My beautiful legacy. I guess I can retire now. I guess I could have retired in 2009.
Good thing you didn't know.
Incredible. I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Congratulations
receiving
to you
that very tender story. So glad we got to do this interview.
Oh my God.
You have no
Yeah.
idea.
Jenny,
Yes.
the lightning round is prom themed.
Teen years.
Yes.
Let's do it. Okay,
Wait,
Jenny.
but answer as yourself now, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Answer as yourself now.
What's the best part of prom?
Dancing.
Where is prom?
Sunnydale High School.
How are you getting to prom?
Lizzie's picking me up in the RAV4.
What are you wearing to prom?
I am wearing what I wore to the prom I most recently attended, which was a sort of like high-collared Jane Austen gentleman's shirt
Yes.
with a cravat and a like a sort of soldier's vest that I
Yes.
obtained from historicalemporium.com and a red tailcoat that is embroidered all over with golden thread that I obtained from draculaclothing.com.
We would like to thank draculaclothing.com for their generous sponsorship of the podcast.
Wow. That was better than I ever imagined with references.
Incredible.
Everything. Okay, next question. What's the best slow dance at prom?
Kiss from a Rose. It's not like the slowest slow dance.
Did you say Jason Mraz?
I said Kiss from a Rose.
Oh!
But I like that sounded like maybe you just really wanted me to say Jason Mraz.
He's top of mind at all times
Nice.
for me personally. What is the quintessential prom decor?
It's got to be Under the Sea.
Absolutely. Done.
I dedicate this question to myself, who really enjoyed speaking with the teachers at prom. Who's the coolest teacher at prom?
I gotta be honest with you, it's my 10th grade honors English teacher, Carolyn Fishbone.
Carolyn Fishbone.
That's right.
Shout out to Carolyn.
Shout out.
Guys, at my prom, there was swine flu.
No, that was the theme?
Yeah, they gave out buttons that said swine 09. They gave out promotional merch that they had made because so many people had swine flu.
I'm starting to see the connection between the graduation song and the prom.
So much is resurfacing. You can invoice me, actually. Yeah.
Let's just get a nice circle Venmo request thing going.
Of invoices.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
I'm dying. What an amazing interview. This is the greatest. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, I'm in.
Okay, great.
All right. Me too. I'm in. Jenny, thanks for talking to us. Congrats on this new album. Don't wait another 10 years to put out another one.
Thank you so much for having me. It is always a pleasure to talk to you, Cindy. And Lizzie, what a glorious day this, our official acquaintance. And I promise to do my very, very, very best to not wait 10 more years to make a full album. Thank you.
This episode of Basic Folk was produced by John Nungesser. Alex Stanton composes our music. Basic Folk is on the Bluegrass Situation Podcast Network. Find all of our episodes there, wherever you get podcasts. You can also search for us on the SiriusXM app under Basic Folk, or you can check out our website.
You can also share this episode with that one person from your high school that you had like one great conversation with, but you weren't actually super close. Like you were basically BFFs for like a few hours. We've all been in that situation. And you lost touch with them, but like you still feel like, wow, that was like a really great day that we were close. I wonder what they're up to now.
One time I messaged that person on MySpace and was like, hey, want to get a drink sometime? And they never responded.
Cindy, no.
This could be a reconnection to that one person in high school that you were like, maybe we're friends, but you also are on the football team. So it's weird.
Are you describing the plot of High School Musical?
Yeah, I think so.
Send this episode to Zac Efron.
We love you so much. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Like literally everything we do it for you.
Bye.
Bye.